Last year, Philippine police carried out a raid in Bamban, a small town in Tarlac province north of Manila. They busted a large-scale online scam syndicate and rescued hundreds of people, including over 200 Chinese nationals and 3 Taiwanese. The case directly involved Bamban's female mayor Alice Guo. This mayor, who is of Chinese-Filipino mixed heritage, has a sweet appearance and on the surface seems like an everyday, hard-working mayor who drives a second-hand car and serves the people. However, secretly she is the powerful boss of a cybercrime syndicate with a fortune of over $1 billion. She owns dozens of luxury cars and helicopters. What's even more shocking is that her Philippine identity was actually fake. She was born in Fujian province, China, and after immigrating to the Philippines, she assumed the identity of a local woman named Alice to carry out her activities. With the help of mysterious forces, she became the elected mayor in just 1 year. After many facts came to light, Philippine lawmakers speculated that she might be a spy for the Chinese Communist Party. Let's dive into the truth behind this event. But before we do, we would like to invite you to subscribe. Your support is our greatest motivation and allows us to bring you more valuable content. Now, moving on. In February 2024, a 33-year-old Vietnamese man went to the Philippine police for help, saying he had been tricked into joining a tech company, only to find out it was actually a telecom scam operation. He explained that he and a friend had been introduced to the company, but once they arrived, they lost their freedom and were often beaten. Not long after this, his friend mysteriously disappeared for failing to meet performance targets, and the man himself suffered brutal abuse until he finally found an opportunity to escape. The local police realized how serious the situation was and immediately reported it to the president Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who ordered a full investigation. The investigation eventually revealed that the company called Bamban Tech was actually controlled by the town's beautiful mayor, Alice Guo. As the investigation continued, the police were shocked to discover that there were no records of the mayor before 2019. In May 2024, a Philippine court held a hearing and confronted her directly. When asked about her background, Alice Guo explained that her father was Chinese and her mother was a Filipino maid, which is why she had a Philippine passport. Who is your biological mother? My biological mother is Filipino. When I was 12, I found out that my mother was actually the maid in our household. My father was a Chinese passport holder. Do you have any siblings? Yes, but I don't know them. Honestly, my father actually wanted me to be Chinese, but I'm Filipino. I grew up in the Philippines and I know I'm Filipino. My mother left me when I was little, and now is my country going to abandon me too? Are you going to deport me? Where would you send me? Malaysia, China, or Singapore? I only have one passport. I'm Filipino. During the hearing, the judge asked her why there was no information about her prior to 2019. Guo Huaping explained that her parents divorced when she was young and she was raised by her father. As a child, she lived in the mountains of the Philippines, raising pigs, never went to school, and didn't have an ID. All the knowledge she had came from her father. But the judge kept pressing, asking why there were billions of dollars under her name. Guo Huaping, realizing she couldn't hide it, started pretending not to know anything. Throughout the hearing, she repeatedly said, "I don't know, it has nothing to do with me." Earlier, she claimed she often traveled abroad with friends, but when the judge asked her the names of those friends or her family members, she couldn't name a single one. This left the judge in shock, and even the people of Bamban City were stunned into silence. Everyone was confused. How did someone with such a mysterious and murky past end up as their mayor? Is your family really rich? I wouldn't say really rich. But you're not poor, right? Yeah, that's right. So, more like middle class? Yes. You didn't finish high school, but you're quite articulate. You're also pretty good at lying, aren't you? I'm not lying. So you've never lied, and you've always told the truth? When I was younger, I might have told a few harmless lies, but today I am not lying to you. So today, not even a harmless lie, right? I'm not lying to you. You really didn't attend college. You don't have a high school diploma.
Wala po,
You
Your
never
Honor.
went to middle school? That's
Hindi po.
correct. Faced with significant doubts about Alice Guo's identity, the Philippine police launched an in-depth investigation into her background. Through DNA and fingerprint analysis, they discovered something astonishing. In 2010, a Chinese girl named Guo Huaping immigrated to the Philippines and left her fingerprints during the process. Strangely, those fingerprints were an exact match with the current mayor, Alice Guo. The Chinese girl was born in 1990 and was just 13 years old when she arrived in the Philippines. However, after her arrival, she mysteriously vanished without a trace. At the same time, the police found records of another girl named Alice who was born and raised in a rural area of Bamban city. This Alice was born in 1986 and looked nothing like the current mayor. What's even weirder is that the original Alice went missing in 2010 and the police couldn't track her down. All of this led investigators to suspect that the current mayor, Alice Guo, probably stole the original Alice's identity.
Are you Guo Huaping?
Madam Chair,
There have
may
already
mga
been
ka-
related
may mga kaso
accusations
na po na
regarding my
in-mail po sa
identity,
akin
so
po
I
sa
can't
court.
answer that right
Kaya
now.
hindi ko po siya masagot po sa inyo ngayon.
I don't think my question has anything to do with your accusations,
Kaso sa inyo, lalo na
especially
may
since the
pruweba
police
nang
and another
na-establish
agency
ang
have confirmed that
NBI
the
at yung isa
fingerprints
pang
of Guo
ahensya
Huaping and
na
Alice Guo are the
yung
same person.
fingerprints ni Guo Huaping at fingerprints nyo bilang Alice Guo at parehong sinabi nilang magkaparehong taong ito. So, for your
So,
own
for your
sake
sake and
at
everyone's
para sa
sake, I'll
kabatiran
ask
ng
you
aming
one last
komite,
simple question.
just one last time on this very simple fundamental question. Ikaw
Are
ba
you
si
Guo
Guo
Huaping?
Huaping?
Madam Chair,
I
hindi
can't
ko po
confirm this matter
kino-confirm
since there are
at
accusations.
may
I will
kaso na
answer
po
this
sa
in
akin
court.
sinampa. Sasagutin ko po sa korte po.
Faced with intense public pressure, the Philippine government began a more in-depth investigation, and the results shocked the entire nation. The investigation revealed that Guo Huaping had started over 10 companies since 2010, covering areas like aquaculture technology, food and beverage production, import-export trade, and more. She amassed a fortune of over $1 billion. However, to the public, she appeared as a mayor who drove a second-hand car every day. The investigation also found that she had only registered as a voter in Bamban City in 2021, yet just 1 year later, in 2022, she became mayor. Shortly after, she purchased 80,000 square meters of land in the suburbs and built a large facility called Dabong Technology, which operated as an online casino. While gambling is legal in the Philippines, this so-called casino was actually a front for various fraudulent activities, including human trafficking and other illegal operations. Last March, when the police raided the facility owned by Guo Huaping, they uncovered a massive amount of telecom fraud funds and saved a large number of illegal laborers. Even more terrifying, after further interrogation, the police dug up over a dozen bodies near the facility, including several Chinese nationals. These were all workers who had been tricked into coming to the facility. What's even worse is that in addition to telecom fraud, Guo Huaping is also suspected of human trafficking, prostitution, money laundering, and even murder and smuggling. To dig deeper into the mysterious forces behind the facility, the police began investigating all the shareholders of Guo Huaping's companies. What they found was shocking. These so-called shareholders were either wanted criminals or fugitives. The real mastermind turned out to be a Chinese man named Huang Zheyong, who was a fugitive wanted by the police around the world. Another major shareholder, Zhang Rujin, was allegedly involved in a 30 billion Singapore dollar money laundering case in Singapore, equivalent to about 16.3 billion RMB. In other words, Guo Huaping was just a small player. The real big fish was still out there. The police also discovered that the total assets of Guo Huaping's companies amounted to hundreds of billions of dollars, but only a few tens of billions were seized. A large portion of the funds had already been transferred by a man named Yang Hongjiang. This man has a brother named Yang Hongming, whose identity is quite significant. He's an economic advisor to the current Philippine president, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Just as the Philippine police were about to arrest Guo Huaping, she ran away. In July, she first went to Malaysia, then to Singapore, and later to Indonesia. On September 4th, she was captured in Indonesia, and on the 5th, Guo Huaping was extradited back to the Philippines. Interestingly, when she was arrested, she was wearing a bulletproof vest, likely because she feared someone might try to silence her. After her capture, she is set to undergo a series of investigations. In northern Myanmar's KK zone, there's a man named Shi Zhejiang, who was once the executive vice president of the China Overseas Chinese Business Association. In 2020, Shi Zhejiang built an Asia-Pacific new city there. However, after leaking secrets about the Chinese Communist Party, he was arrested by Thai police. Under the control of the Chinese government, the Thai authorities revoked Shi Zhejiang's bail and subjected him to abuse in prison. In order to save his life, Shi Zhejiang revealed many secrets during an interview with Al Jazeera's East 101 program while in prison. In the Elite Foreign program, U.S. independent TV producer Li Juan said that Guo Huaping is actually a Chinese communist spy, and this information was directly revealed by Shi Zhejiang. Isn't the person in charge of Asia-Pacific New City named Shi Zhejiang? Later, he fell out with the Chinese Communist Party. He came forward himself and said, "I'm from the Ministry of State Security of China." He said it himself to prove he was indeed from the Ministry of State Security. He also confessed about an accomplice, a former female mayor from the Philippines named Guo Huaping. He said that this female mayor wasn't of mixed Chinese-African descent at all. She is actually Chinese and a spy. So, the Philippines had to investigate, and when they did, they found out that the fingerprints of this female mayor really did match those of a Chinese national who had entered the country. This left a lot of people in the Philippines totally shocked. Recently, during a press conference at the Department of Foreign Affairs, a reporter asked about the hundreds of Chinese in the Philippines who had been kidnapped and taken to Myanmar's telecom fraud zones. The spokesperson from the Foreign Ministry was flipping through his notes for a long time, but couldn't figure out how to respond. As for why people suspect Guo Huaping of being a Chinese Communist Party spy, aside from her mysterious background, the main reason is that the Chinese government has been sending spies abroad for years. It's common to hear about cases where women are used to seduce foreign politicians and infiltrate their governments. These kinds of stories are unfortunately all too familiar. For example, in February of last year, Radio Free Asia published an article mentioning 2 Chinese women suspected of being Chinese overseas police who were handed over to Japanese prosecutors on charges of fraud. One of them had an ambiguous relationship with Japanese politician Matsushita Shinpei. One of them is 44-year-old He Li Hong from Fujian. She held key roles in Chinese businesses and community organizations in Japan. Later, a Chinese business owner introduced her to Japanese Senator Matsushita Shinpei. With her actress-like charisma, she quickly became his secretary. Eventually, she even got a pass to the Senate member's office building, giving her easy access to Japan's political hub. For example, Canadian MP Kevin Vuong once complained he fell victim to a Chinese honey trap. Vuong initially hid details of a sexual assault accusation against him. Although the charges were eventually dropped, the scandal led to him being ousted from the Federal Liberal Party in 2021. Vuong alleged that the person behind the 2019 accusation was a Chinese agent, claiming he was ensnared in a Chinese honey trap, which led to his downfall. In another case, Canada's Federal Immigration and Refugee Board ruled last year that a Chinese-Canadian woman named Jing Zhang had previously worked for the Chinese Overseas Affairs Office, which was accused of conducting espionage and pressuring overseas Chinese in Canada. On August 28, 2023, the Immigration Board issued a deportation order against Jin Zhang. One of the most high-profile cases involving a Chinese honey trap in the past 2 years is Fang Fang. Better known as a Chinese spy, she made headlines in late 2020 for allegedly seducing California Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell with offers of money and sexual favors. She was also linked to other Democratic politicians. U.S. media reports revealed that at least 2 Midwestern mayors had romantic or sexual relationships with Fang Fang. This raised concerns that she used her personal connections and relationships to infiltrate American politics and steal sensitive national information. A quick look at her Facebook back then would show tons of pictures with U.S. politicians, including some current San Francisco and California officials. But in 2015, she suddenly left the US for China and never came back. Former acting director of national intelligence Rick Grinnell mentioned in an interview that Chinese spies are also deeply embedded within the United Nations, taking advantage of any opportunity to infiltrate. Additionally, many US officials have reportedly fallen victim to Chinese honey traps, with numerous members of Congress, Democratic governors, and local officials targeted by Chinese agents. That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.